Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. I am thrilled to have a special guest, Heather Donlan from New York City originally, then Seattle, and now Naples, Florida. She has built a pretty impressive boutique portrait studio there in Naples. She was recently on Photographers Ignite on Creative Live. I've included that video in the post as well. Please check it out. She's got so much to share, and I'm really excited to have her. Thank you so much for joining the show. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Nate. Thanks for having me.
Of
Super
course.
excited to be here.
Awesome. So let's start with, I think I want to start right where I'm most excited to. In the pre-show, we figured out we both love Shark Tank. So for those of you that want to skip past our Shark Tank geek session, we are going to be talking about awesome marketing tools you can use in your business, like email marketing, the ways that you're using sticky albums in your business, in what you call like a destination boutique. So we're going to get to all those awesome tips and tricks, but let's just talk about Shark Tank. So why do you love Shark Tank?
Well, for one, I am amazed with all the brilliant ideas that come across Shark Tank, and I love watching how excited all of the business owners, how passionate they are about their business, and I love watching the sharks and seeing how they dissect that business. But what really what really excites me is truly watching those owners have to fight fight and explain why their business is viable or a great kind of a great idea.
Like worth investing in.
Absolutely. And it's just that passion behind it. I just get so excited for them, and I really get behind a lot of the business owners and really try rooting for them, know, and it just, it's exciting, I think. And it's interesting to see how, these different sharks come at looking at that business at different ways. I think that's important to keep that broad perspective like that.
Totally. Yeah, there's so much to learn outside of our comfort zone and outside of the industries that we know. And there are some common like best practices, for lack of a better term, like that these sharks are all looking for. And so on one hand, it's good to look outside and learn, like as an audience of the show, to learn from other industries. And we're going to talk more about that in today's show. But also learning focus. One thing that comes to mind is how quickly now a lot of them will drop out if it's just, even if they love the product or they love the idea, like, you know what, I've already got a full plate on this specialty. I don't have any experience here. I'm going to pull myself out. And so there is a lot of value in, as a business person, knowing your strengths, knowing what you're good at, and focusing on those things.
I know. I think you're absolutely right, Nate, that, and I think that this is, in the photography industry, everybody hears over and over, you can't be everything to everyone. Yeah. And I think that's a great case in point that you make, that, figure out what you're really good at, figure out what your niche is, and that's what you really have to focus on. And the sharks, they know that, they know what their niche is. They already know what they're good at. And I agree, sometimes there's a great company that comes in front of them, and they have to let it go, because they know that they're not going to serve the company very well if they don't know that particular industry.
Right, exactly. I think that they're doing, what's happening it's hard for me to look outside of my bubble, because it's been a crazy last couple of years launching my own business. But I also see, I think entrepreneurship as a whole is really gaining popularity in our country and abroad as well, where people are starting to realize that in order to make it, you've got to work your ass off. Yeah. And I think fewer and fewer people are willing to sacrifice the time with their family, to put their blood, sweat, and tears into a career or into a job where they don't feel like they're going to reap all of the benefits that they've earned, i.e. working for somebody else who's just going to take all of the benefit. Yeah. And I think that more and more there's a lot of value, I think, working and learning from a big company, and there's a lot of really good big companies out there still. But I think that the tides are changing a little bit
I
where,
would agree with that for sure. And I know at least for myself in my business, I mean, I've been in business almost 15 years now, and I mean, it is not easy. And there are many, many nights where I'm at my studio till 10, 11 at night because I've promised something to clients
yeah,
or whatever the case is. You're right. Literally, my I always say this is my fourth baby, this business, because it is. I mean, it requires oftentimes more energy and effort than my own children. But
right, yeah,
but on the other hand, all of the success I can, I get to. I'm so proud of what I do. I feel
yes,
like myself and my studio manager Mike, we are able to really. Create a lifestyle for ourselves that is very happy,
I love it. Yeah, and it's like you're working for something that you're creating. I think that for me, I've shared this story. I don't know if I've done it on the podcast here, where when I was right about ready to start Sticky Albums, I had a manager that was amazing. And they say you work for a manager, not a company.
Right.
And she was just an incredible teacher. She had her PhD in education, and I learned so much from working with her. And she put so much time and energy. She was working 60, 70 hours a week, really consistently. When she would like protect our team, she's like, no, we all everybody on the team had their own kids. And
Right.
she would always be like, no, don't, you guys do not need to work on the weekends. But then she would come back on Monday and we're like, when did you do all this stuff? She's like, well, I worked a little bit. It's like, of course, like she couldn't turn it off, right?
Right.
And which is fine if you're really want to like strive for that, and I can really respect it. But what was really eye-opening for me is that after giving over 10 years to this company, overnight we got acquired, and the acquiring company let her go, just like
Gone.
boom. Like it was
That hard work.
I think we've all heard a version of that story through ourselves or other people we know, where there are no guarantees anymore. There is no such thing as a secure job.
Right.
And if I personally now also like there's the trade-off. You're your own business, and it is an incredible amount of work. But I can justify it because it's for myself
Yourself.
and my family and my team.
Yeah.
It's not for some other company that can just cut me out
Yeah.
of the loop in a second.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't value you the way that, you value yourself,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
I mean, nobody, I hate to say this but there is a lot of truth to it that nobody really looks out for you except for you, and
Yeah.
I always hope and try to look at the positive in people and know that there are good people out there, but at the end of the day, you're the one who has to watch out for yourself. So,
Right, and I think it's just business is tough. Business is
Yeah.
we can sit around and play the victim forever, or you can just take accountability, and that's what I think is so exciting about entrepreneurship. Is
Yep.
as a photographer, we all have our own path and our own story of how we decided to start doing this awesome art as a business, and there's a lot of pros and cons to being a portrait photographer. But I think that one of the most powerful lessons that I've learned on Shark Tank, and I hope other people start to see, is the importance of looking at your business as a business, like as knowing your basic numbers, like knowing what your sales are, what's your cost of goods, what's like how much is a new lead coming in the door worth to you.
right.
And all of just knowing it's so painful sometimes if that's not your strength, but it's invaluable to the success and the longevity of your business, is to sit down and find somebody who you respect, not necessarily that like you're best friends with, but somebody that you respect that can do you like your mock Shark Tank, that can just
Right.
rip you to shreds, pull your business apart and give you some honest feedback about areas you could grow. I think doing that on a
Absolutely.
regular basis is invaluable. So
Absolutely.
okay, so I could go on and on about Shark Tank. Everybody, that was our commercial. Please, I'm a huge fan. Let me know in the comments. Let me know your favorite episode, your favorite success story.
I told you, mine's the Copa. I love the
Yeah,
wine
the
guy,
wine
and
guy. You never.
I see his stuff everywhere. So,
Yep. And
so
sometimes you don't even need to make a deal. Just that exposure
that's
is
right. But
tremendous. Yep.
the exposure is probably 75% of it.
Yep.
So agreed.
Awesome. Okay, so let's switch gears. Um, let's talk about your distinction, how you define your business as a boutique business. What does that mean to you?
Well, we shoot about 100 sessions a year approximately, and for us, we used to shoot more. We really are. 100 is very comfortable for me. I'm the only shooter here in my studio, and we really cater to a higher end clientele. So we're looking for bigger dollar sales,
Yep.
less volume, and certainly extremely high customer service.
Right.
With that in mind, I mean, we're in a perfect area to promote that and to have that. It's really, it's a very Naples is a destination area, but it's a lot of people have second homes here as well.
Right.
So it's very beneficial for
Yeah.
us to be where we are and to provide that type of product
Yep.
and service.
Absolutely. And I think that there's such a, so I'm going to say a couple things, but I'll give the caveat that you just gave is knowing your own location. So when we, as photographers, when you sit down and you try to learn other practices and techniques that you can apply to your business, you have to first filter it through what's going to work best in your market. What are the strengths and weaknesses of your market, and how can you leverage them accordingly? But as a general rule, when we start talking about customer service and being in a service business, the reality is your revenue is tied to how many clients come in the door, right? So
Absolutely.
you can do two things to make more money: more clients,
Yeah,
or charge more money.
absolutely.
And if I think that it gets really tricky to deliver a high level of customer service to a high volume of clientele, and it just becomes a lot of work. And then I found that I think I call it like the Facebook effect. There's a new social network I would love to go on if like I could snap my fingers and all of my friends and family would move. It's called Path, where it limits your friends to 150. I think they started even smaller. It was you only pay like $15 a year, so there's no advertising. It's just super
Right.
clean and private, and your closest network. And when you really think about it, there's something to be said about 150. Like,
Right.
do I really want to be close? Am I ever going to be close to more than 150 people in my life? I don't think so.
No.
So there's something similar with the number of clients you have each year. That once you get over this certain number, each new customer starts to feel like just a number, right? It gets harder and harder to really make a connection with
Well,
each customer.
absolutely. And for us, I mean, we're like most businesses. I mean, the relationship is what's so important. I want to know when my clients walk through my front door, I want to know their name right off the bat.
Yep.
We have a lot of clients, like I said, who have second homes here. They'll pop in and say hi to us because we've already established this great relationship with them. I want to know exactly who it is. I want to know what their kids' names are. If they had a dog with them at the set, like I want to remember all of that. And you do start to lose that after a certain point. I want them to feel like they are always welcome in our studio door to have a latte or a glass of wine. And you can't do that if somebody walks in and you think, okay, I know I photographed you, but I can't quite remember. So it is really important to know, to kind of figure out where your sweet spot is.
Yep.
Clearly, this is a business. We are here eventually to, we have to support ourselves and make money. But, we don't, we can do that and still maintain those really special relationships
Absolutely.
at the same time. So they can be symbiotic and go together. So,
Yeah. And I think that it's just more fun to be in a business where you are, where like our humanness is the priority, like connecting and building relationships. Like if that's you get to choose your job, and if that's one of the things that brings you the most joy, then make sure that fits into your business. So
Absolutely.
You guys do check out the full presentation on Creative Live, where you go into some great examples of how you're using different techniques to really stand above. What was the title of your talk again? I keep forgetting it.
Going the extra mile.
Going the extra mile. I think it's such a cool mantra.
Thanks.
Because that's how you stand out. That's how.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
Especially in a competitive market, what you said.
Right.
In a destination tourist area, it's only getting trickier to
more and
to
more
compete.
saturated. And and we spoke briefly earlier that it is becoming really saturated in this area, like all areas. We're really getting an influx of new photographers, which is great. I do think that new blood helps kind of the old blood stay on their toes a little bit better. But one thing that we found, we used to offer these mini sessions, and we don't offer them anymore because that's really how a lot of these newer photographers are getting their foot in the door, which is understandable, and it's a great marketing tool for them. But for particularly for our studio, with how we're marketing to a slightly different clientele. We've stopped offering those mini sessions because we want to stand apart, and really be that full service studio where from start to finish, to be able to provide our clients with the whole experience.
And it's just setting yourself apart. I think that
we can't provide the experience in 30 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. And
so for us,
that's the first part, right? But there's more layers. When I like talking about marketing, I like saying that marketing is everything you do and don't do. It's everything you're doing and not doing in your business is your brand, is your marketing. And so even if you're not thinking about it, this is the message that you're communicating to your audience. So let's take this example. Just by offering a mini session, it's a unique strategy. It might work very well for you at your stage of business and where your region, right?
Absolutely.
But then you have to know with every tactic what's its strength and what's its weakness. And some of its drawbacks are when you are leading with a discount. That's like, here's a way you can save money by doing a mini session. I think that there's other ones like just flat out discounts or the deal sites that are much more geared this way. But as long as you structure a mini session in a way, it is, I think, a smart way to pack your calendar full to make the best use of your time. But you also want to be careful of the type of clientele you're attracting, right?
Right.
If you're trying to start or run a boutique high-end business,
this is not the way to start. I would not suggest it, because you're gaining clients that are the next year are going to expect the same type of discount that you're not going to want to provide. So if you really want to go after that high-end clientele, then you have to start from the very beginning with accruing and really sowing the seeds of the right types of clients. Because you're gonna be losing all those kind of discount shoppers,
right?
Ultimately, anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Heather, tell me about this. Is what I was surprised about. Is even I made the assumption that as a destination studio that you didn't have a lot of repeat business, but that's not the story. So tell me how important it is to your studio to have repeat customers.
Yeah, we have quite a few repeat clients, and again, Nate, we consider destination either people who are coming down to vacation, first time out of wherever, Minnesota, coming down to Florida, or somebody that has a second home in Naples. So there's two different facets, but basically people who live elsewhere and come here for a vacation. And what we found is that a lot of our clients are coming from similar pockets in other parts of the country. So Cincinnati, Cleveland, these pockets where somebody will say, and I know I do it myself, when I'm planning a vacation or going on a vacation, when I come back, I'm telling all my friends, I stayed at this hotel, we had a great meal at this location, we did this great tour, I do the same thing. And so what we're finding is that there is this really great network happening in other parts of the country
Right.
that they're networking and discussing Naples. Well, I
Yeah.
want to be part of that discussion.
Totally.
So, and I mean, just to talk to you about how, how this really helps, Sticky Albums helps us, is
Yeah.
that we've got Sticky Albums on a client's phone who goes back to Cleveland. Now they're sharing that with all their friends. We've got all these, this great word of mouth happening in an area where we're not doing really any. I mean,
Right.
we don't do any advertising,
Right.
so
Right.
it's amazing for us.
Yeah. That's so
And
huge.
and then the one other thing I'll say is that we also are finding that people are coming back to Naples either annually or biannually, and
Right.
this isn't unique to just my area. I mean, there's a ton of places where if you go on vacation at Lake Tahoe and fall in love with it, you're going to want to go back there every year and make it. People do like the idea of making, having tradition within their family, and if
Right.
that happens to be where they vacation, all the more reason to that. Again, we want to be a part of that,
Totally.
that feeling,
I
that
think
tradition.
so. There's so much good stuff I want to pull apart here. One of them is it kind of brings me back to Shark Tank too. Is there's some benefits that you really should be conscious of to selling to a higher end clientele. When there's so many perks, a lot of us are scared to do it at first, to raise our rates or to go after this
Right.
target market. But one of the coolest things you'll find is that people who can afford that level, above all else, they've woken up and are aware that their greatest asset is their time. That's true for everybody, but I think a lot of people just they don't realize it. They don't realize how easily they waste away their time, and it might be why they can't necessarily afford higher end stuff yet.
Right.
But I love working with people who value their time, because by that nature they value your time also.
Absolutely.
And all of the pushback we get from trying to sell products or prints or large pieces of work, it's so much easier to sell that to a high-end clientele because they want you to do it for them. They want all of this done, right? And they're going to be
Absolutely.
like, I don't have the time to order prints myself. No, you're the pro. I'm hiring you to provide the service. Just get it done. Another one is, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't get as many customer service issues. They don't have time to sit and send you this super long email because
No,
it's like if they're upset,
absolutely not.
they just get over it, right?
Well, and I mean, and the things that they're upset about, I mean, there are always customer service issues, but I just feel like, and I talked about this in my Ignite program, that we established this mutually respectful dialogue from the beginning with all of our clients. So if customer service issues do come up, it's a very, very respectful, conversation we're having, and it is not nitpicky about, well, what am I going to get because I, whatever
Totally.
the issue is. It's not like that. It's just very respectful dialogue. I mean, if there's an issue, we fix it. I mean, it's and it's very simple.
Totally.
So
I love it. And then the last piece of that is the repeat business. I love finding restaurants or destinations, or whatever it is, that it's like the Cheers factor. Like, you love going somewhere where you just know it's going to be good. The internet is just completely full now with amazing, thousands of awesome things you can do on a vacation.
Right.
It takes so much energy. There's so much to do. It can be overwhelming. Like, what are we going to do on our vacation? That's why it doesn't surprise me to hear you reporting back the trend of a lot of people wanting to vacation, maybe not every year, but every other year, consistently in the same place, because they know the location, they know good places to stay, they know the photographer they can trust, and on down the line. It lets them, when you go on vacation, you want to unplug.
You want it to be easy.
Yeah, you don't want to all stressed out trying to figure out what I should do, and that is this the right thing I should do or not? And last point to tie back into word of mouth is, when you are going for the first time, who do you reach out to? Before you go to all of the deals, all of the sites, all of the forums, everything else, you go to your friends.
Your friends.
Where did you go? what should we do? And that's why getting on their radar is so important.
Well, absolutely, and it's just we're another layer to them because most people now, when they do travel, they know about Yelp, they know about TripAdvisor, they know about all the they're absolutely on Google searching things that they can do.
Yep.
We come up on all of those things,
Yep.
and we hope we come up super positively on all of those things. But really, the seal is when their friend, usually it happens the other way around. The friend will say, "We went on vacation, we use this great photographer," or they'll see either images in their home or a sticky album on their device, and then they'll go do the research and see us come up everywhere, and it's the layers just keep adding to reassure them that
huge.
okay, this is going to be a great experience.
That's huge. Yeah, I want to acknowledge what you said there is marketing is about layers and multiple touches.
Yeah.
It's really easy to get discouraged when spending a lot of your energy on marketing and different activities. Sometimes one touch isn't enough. They need to be reassured from multiple different channels,
Right.
and then they finally make the decision.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears into managing and valuing your time and how you decided to hire a studio manager. That's a big step.
It is a big step. I think from the very beginning, when we moved, we've kind of moved all over. But when I reopened my business here in Florida, which is about 8 or 9 years ago now, I had 5-6 years prior experience just working by myself, and I knew if I wanted to grow my business into what my vision really was for my business, that I needed help. I wasn't quite sure how to go about that. And I was mostly concerned about how to pay for, I was barely able to support myself, let alone bringing on somebody else.
Right.
But I was fortunate at the time that my husband had a job that we could shuffle that.
Yeah.
So that was a very, very lucky thing for me. I know not everybody's in the same position, but I was smart enough to know that I couldn't do it by myself. I think that is a key. I know when you first start out, you feel like you wear many different hats, and Mike and I, we still wear many different hats, but I at least am sharing that responsibility with my manager here.
That's so cool.
So, I know for myself, when I first got into the photography industry, I apprenticed under 2 greats out in Seattle, and I started right out of college working for free, which isn't ideal, but after 3 months, I was offered jobs by both of them. So, that's another way that you can help get help without having to offset your cost of your business initially, if you're willing to take the chance on somebody, willing to take the chance, I guess.
Yeah, and really putting yourself out there. Yeah, absolutely. So that's huge. I think that it's really hard to let go of the different things, but it sounds like what worked well for you is you went in knowing right away that as you started this new business, you wanted help. So it was probably a little bit easier that way to start delegating. I know I'm going to be doing these types of things, and we're going to have Mike do these types of things.
Yeah. Well, and I think if you write down in front of you all the different things that you do in your business, and figure out what are you really good at? Are you really good at shooting? Are you really good at the client relations? Like, where are your strengths? And then pull apart the other things and figure out, now, who am I looking for over here?
Right.
I think, again, Nate, this goes back to what we were saying initially, is that owning your own business like this, and if you have an employee, there are probably many hats that employee is going to have to wear, but the benefits of working for a small company and being able to have a little more flexibility either in their personal life or, whatever, there's more flexibility there. So that is a benefit and a real draw for some people,
Totally.
that's out, that's just, it's a positive.
Absolutely. I think that one of the things I tell a lot of business owners is when you're starting out, the business plan should be something you can just write up on a piece of paper in about a half hour. You shouldn't be spending more than a half hour on a business plan. Same thing with defining your first employee or your second employee. Personally, and you tell me how this fits for you, is you can define your ideal employee and the things you want them to do, but the more specific you get, the harder it is to find that person. And I think more importantly, it's just getting clear on what are the core values that I'm looking for in an employee, and I can teach them the skills they need, or I'll just leverage whatever natural talents experience they already have. So
Right.
based on the person that comes in, you go, I can work with this person. They know how to have like a constructive conversation. They're good with customers. All of these basic things.
Yeah.
It's really easy to teach them other things. You can't really teach that first part, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, but you can invest, and that's what I feel is so great. Exactly what you're saying. I mean, you can, as long as you have great communication together and synergy together, and you on a very basic foundation know that you can work together. Yeah, I would say I certainly absolutely invest in that person and let that person really shine, because we all adapt.
Totally.
We can all wear, like I keep coming back to this phrase, but we all can figure out how to wear different hats.
Yeah, absolutely.
So absolutely.
I love it. That's such good advice. I will. Let's see, 2 more points about hiring somebody. One thing I've learned in the last couple of years is it's such an awesome productivity hack, where once you have somebody else in your business that's your employee, it really helps you hold yourself accountable to the things that you've decided together need to get done. There's things always change, but it's so much easier when it's something you've shared out loud or you put on a plan together.
Absolutely.
Just setting up those projects.
You're held accountable,
Yeah.
So you really have to, stand up for what you say it is you're going to do, and keep your vision can change, but
Right.
if you're going to put it out there and somebody's going to be working very hard to try to get you there, you better be working your ass off too.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the surprise, right? It's like you think like I'm going to get an employee so that I can hold somebody else accountable to getting all this stuff done.
Yeah.
And both is true. It's good, but it's also you got to step up to it. It's like,
Absolutely.
okay, I can't just expect them to follow through. I've got to
right.
follow through on what I've said I'm
Absolutely.
going to do also.
Absolutely.
It's really big stuff. Well, cool. That's really good. Let's see. The last thing I wanted to transition into is you mentioned one of the other really positive marketing tactics you've used this year is building your email database and sending a newsletter. So walk me through that process. What made you decide to go there, and how did you get started?
Well, we knowing that we have a lot of destination clients, we really wanted to kind of keep our fingers involved and kind of keep our tentacles on those clients.
Yes.
Because they leave here and then they're gone for a year or sometimes 2 years, and it's not like they see any marketing that we're doing here in Naples. If we were doing any sort of print advertising, which we rarely do, but we definitely are. My business name or the company name comes up within the community, and those clients, it was not reaching those clients. So we felt like this was a great way to kind of keep just our brand and our name in front of our clients. Now I'm sorely disappointed. I've now moved 3 different places, and I'm disappointed that I hadn't started this email newsletter much earlier, because I feel like I've lost so many great clients along the way by just not keeping up with them and in touch with them. But, I try to stay positive moving forward.
Yep.
But it's been super, super successful for us to be able, we've sent out, I think the newsletter program is pretty new for us, but the response is incredible with our clients, just really enjoying, this communication that we're keeping with them.
Yep.
So
that's so huge. I think
it's been awesome.
Let's pull this apart. So I think that when I talk to photographers about email marketing, it can be like a daunting thing. So share with me, if you could, why do you think you waited? Why do you think it took you longer than it
Well, I just think that, I mean, naturally there were other things that took precedence within the business, and this just wasn't something. I mean, it took us years to really, fine tune all sorts of pricing,
Right.
and, we kind of were navigating through all of that over the past 8 years. And I think that,
So was it the fact that I found you pushed back, but what I'm seeing is it's hard to decide where to start. Number one, it's confusing. Like what? So I want to do email marketing. What tools do I use? Where do I start? And there's so many moving parts that it's easy to lose motivation. And second, you don't necessarily see a return tomorrow. Where there's other marketing initiatives where it's like I'm gonna work on this for like a couple days straight. I give it like 20 hours of my time, and I want to see a return like within the month.
Right.
With email marketing, sometimes you don't see that return immediately. It's
No,
more like building
absolutely.
this which makes it easier to like put off. Like
Put
I know
off.
I should do it. I'll get to it later. I'll get to it next month.
Yeah, no, I agree. It really, you don't see it's not like we send out an email, our newsletter, and get 10 calls the next day saying, sign me up. But we do get a lot of communication from our clients, which I am amazed with and thrilled with. We have people emailing the day our newsletter goes out to our clients. And we have about, right now on our emails, our email list, we're over 1,000. So, still steadily growing, but currently it's still free with MailChimp. So that's, which is great.
Huge.
So, but it's really amazing how many people want to interact back with us. And like, our newsletter isn't completely photography focused. It's really, we know our clientele, we know they like to travel, we know they like food. These are the things that we talk about in the newsletter. So it's not just all about us. We really want to make it an open dialogue and say to them, hey, we've just traveled to this really cool area. You might enjoy such and such restaurant. We try to make it very, we have to have a broader interest besides just photography.
Instead of just talking about yourself, right? You're talking about things. So you're touching on some really key points for people to make note of is when you are following up. So there's so many things on the front end that we could talk about, like ways to build your list, tools to use to create, like MailChimp and others, a ton out there. I use MailChimp also. I love it. And it's free until you have over 2,000 subscribers. And then what is it that you talk about, right? And like any marketing, you don't necessarily want to be talking about yourself that much. You want other people to talk about you, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's talking about things they care about. So what are some of the things you found that your audience cares about?
Well, our audience cares about travel.
Yep.
So we typically always have a little travel piece. I love travel probably more than anything else.
Yeah.
So fortunately for me, that is a subject that I could that's a whole another hour discussion we could have on great spots all over the world.
I love it.
So we always have a travel piece. We have a little, I'm big on supporting local here in Naples. So, we try to incorporate, again, a lot of these are destination clients. So they have ties to Naples. So if there's a great new restaurant, if there's, a new company that's offering paddle boarding here in Naples, anything that's really cool that makes it unique to Naples, we're promoting that because we want them to be looking at it and going, oh man, I want to try that new restaurant. Maybe we should come back to Naples for, for the next holiday, or I can't wait to sign up for that the next time we come back. So we just really are trying to reinforce and remind our clients how enjoyable it is here, and get us in front of them.
That's so great. That's so smart. I love that model. I want to go retire somewhere warm.
Well,
and do what you're doing.
Come on
So
down.
good. I love it.
Let me tell you, it's a little slow in the summer.
I bet.
But that's our time of year, at least for the locals. That's when we get to go explore the rest of the world because, it's a little bit quieter down here.
That's there's always ebbs and flows. That's perfect.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um,
So, but and just adding one more thing is
yeah.
that in our newsletters we do have links to the sticky albums within our. We
Oh,
embed them within the newsletter. So, now the newsletter itself is it's a very broad focus. But for example, we haven't touched on this at all, but I do a lot of my fine art work in the Everglades. So we've embedded that in there. So it really is, these clients already know that we do this great portraiture, but now we're showing them something really different and unique to our studio that, again, just helps create another layer of reminding them,
right.
how we're different.
What a smart way. I think that there's this challenge with being a portrait photographer where I think in order to do it well, you've got to love it. Period. Right? It's got to be. You've got to find a way to channel your own creative art into your portraiture.
Yes.
But then, so often I hear new businesses that start to burn out a little bit because they're not doing photography for why they got into it. They're not expressing themselves and doing their own projects just for them or just artistic stuff.
Right.
And what a cool way to do a very creative, like not selfish, but expressive creative project,
Right.
and also share it
Self-fulfilling,
with your
yeah.
customer base. Like
Absolutely.
that's tremendous.
Yeah, absolutely. And it puts us the perceived value of what we're doing becomes higher because we're no longer just, again, we're separating ourselves as much from those mini sessions, and we are creating the fact that they're hiring a true artist, a fine art artist who is taking their family portraiture. So that it's just, again, it just helps position us in the right light.
Perfect. Oh, that's genius. I love it. I hope you guys took good notes. This is really good stuff. Heather, I had a blast chatting with you.
I know, Nate. I can't wait for this. I feel like the next segment I'm going to need my coffee or beer.
Absolutely. Are you going to be in Phoenix for Imaging USA?
I don't know if we're going to make imaging. We probably are going to try to make
WPPI. Sweet.
But we're going to try to make one or the other. Phoenix is a little, they're both far for us, so we just have to
pick one or the other.
Yeah.
Well, either way, you let me know. I'd love to buy you a beer while we're out there.
Can't wait.
We'll be at both shows. Lastly, but not least, if somebody really wants to dig deeper with Heather, it sounds like you're also offering some pretty intensive coaching or mentoring. So tell me, how does that work?
Well, it's very specialized. It's one-on-one type mentoring, and we really talk to the prospective mentee and just make sure first and foremost that we're a great fit and that what it is that they're looking for, and then we help create basically a year-long syllabus of which usually includes monthly. We have monthly meetings just like this. We do critiquing and certainly help navigate their business in their area to help position them so that they can kill it in their area.
That is so huge.
Yeah.
Just like I talked about at the beginning, where you need somebody somebody you respect that can be like a Shark Tank for you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
absolutely.
being really supportive too.
Yeah.
I love it.
Absolutely. So
That's huge.
Yeah.
Well, you guys want to learn more, check out the email address underneath in the post below. This was fantastic, Heather. Thank you so much for your time.
Sure, Nate. Thanks a lot for having me on. I appreciate it.
You bet. Bye-bye.
See ya.